had a very busy schedule, with lectures. Some universities I was visiting with training and traveling a lot. But my only condition was that the event shouldn't be on the date, which is important for my family, especially, of course, for my children. Like my son's birthday, for example, my daughter's birthday, or important events in their schools, which I always attended, nearly always attended, right? And that's why when I was invited to the York University to give a lecture on sensory perception in autism, it was, oh, so many years ago. And the date was 15th of May. And of course, I said, oh, no, 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 I can't do it. I didn't explain why or whatever. And then my daughter, she heard this conversation and she said, oh, yes, yes, we can. We will celebrate my birthday in York. And it was decided. So we went to York because it's a beautiful city. We love it, and we went there quite often. So, and we even knew where we will celebrate it, Italian pizza restaurant, perfect. And we went to this York University. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was 2 or 3 hours altogether, this lecture with a small break. And my daughter brought a lot of magazines, something else to entertain herself. So she said, don't you worry, I will sit somewhere at the end and I will find something to do and then we will go and celebrate it. Okay. What happened was I started talking and she stopped looking at her magazines and she was listening to me. And by the way, it was the first time my daughter listened to my presentation, because my work, as I said, was separate from my family. And at the end of the presentation, of course, or lecture, there were many questions. There were occupational therapists, those who knew a lot already, and they had more questions to me because they learned something new and they wanted more details, and everything was fine. But when the student, it was the very end of this session, when the student asked me, may I ask your daughter a question? Gosh, I panicked. I prepared to say no, and she was marching to the stage, and she was at the stage and said yes. And then the question was, and my heart fell down, very, very down. And the question, even now I remember this. And the question was, what is it like to live with an autistic brother? Gosh, I didn't know what, because we never discussed it. Autism and what? Yes, autism, they heard this word and whatever. They knew Mama writes books about autism and what. And we have to learn from her. I did. And she said, what do you mean what it is like? It is normal. I would never answer that. It was a perfect answer. Yes, we have autism in our family. And what? Yes, it is normal for our family. And that's why, for me, by the way, that's what I don't, or stigma about autism, whatever. You know what? When my son was diagnosed, first with schizophrenia, mental retardation, and then by an American psychiatrist with autism, in 1990s, in the very beginning, that was stigma. Oh, autism, the end of the life. I was like, you know why? Because I didn't know much about it. And when this American psychiatrist who came to the university where I was the head of the department, and she learned about my family, and she said, do you want me to have a look at your son? And it was him whom a few hours later said, he's autistic. He has classic autism. Please be positive, he said. You know, I wasn't positive. I was happy. Not because I knew all his problems, non-verbal, very difficult, always sort of in himself. I was happy to learn the name, my son and autism. And I started studying. Many friends from many countries sent me, because I contacted many autism societies, and they sent me information, the articles, books. I remember the first book I read, it was this, I don't remember his name. It's a shame. He sent me the book, and I was reading it. It was 1990s. I was reading it all night. I was crying. Again, not because stigma. I saw, oh, it's terrible. Gosh, what to do? No, I was recognizing my son nearly on every page, and I felt more confident. I will start my own research. You see, another thing was why it was easier for me. There are several schools of autism, right? Like European universities, British and American, they sort of a bit different, right? Oh, I read everything that was sent to me. I was sort of neutral. I disagreed with this, those, I agreed with that, and whatever. And that's when I came with this sensory perception. When my children in my school, I started this school, right? I saw, gosh, communication, theory of mind, cognitive. No, they perceived everything differently. And I do remember at my first congress somewhere, was it Lisbon, when I talked to a very important cognitivist and talked about sensory perception and these empty eyes, what are you talking about? And I remember all this stuff, and I still insisted. And, oh, sorry, I was right, right, at the time. And yes, there was stigma. Yes, parents were afraid of autism. For me, I know the name, I can research, I can find ways to help, and yes, it's become normal. And my daughter was absolutely right. What do you mean, what it is? Oh, I love it. It's normal. So, you see, families can teach you a lot. Thank you.